Okay, so I was doing a tutorial on level and world building the other day, and we were doing the typical kind of white box blocking things out, trying to put in basic geometry to describe the actual surroundings and world that we were trying to create. And I was looking at the way textures were kind of repeating themselves, sitting on certain objects, and it was kind of messy. And I thought back that I remember that there was this tool that somebody told me about. It was ProBuilder, which I hadn't investigated at the time. So I decided to dig it out and have a look, and I was absolutely blown away by what you could actually do with it, and felt a bit stupid that I hadn't been using it for so long. I put together this little simple column and archway prefab that you can see here the other day, and I just want to go through the process and how quick it was to actually put together something like this. Right, so let's get started. The object itself, as you can see, sorry, before I get started with that, if you're new to ProBuilder and if you haven't used it before, there's two things going on the screen here. So I've shaped my screen in a certain way with the scene view predominantly here, and I've added this extra tool set here. So we've got Pro Grids and we've got ProBuilder over here. So both of those tools are now part of Unity, and they can be downloaded through the package manager. So if you look through your window, package manager, wait for that to load. If you go to all packages, and you should, yes, there we go. If you look down through the bottom here, depending on what version of Unity you're using, there'll be different options available here. If you're not seeing all of this, by the way, you can switch over to advanced mode where you can see show preview packages. I believe preview packages are ones that are not completely finalized yet, or they're giving you a taster. So I know ProBuilder is definitely part of Unity, and you should be able to see that, but ProGrids hasn't popped up for me because it's a preview package, as you can see here before. So you want to install both of those, and there's plenty of tutorials online on how to actually get those set up to get these windows. So this ProGrids toolbar should appear by itself. If it doesn't, you can always go to Tools, ProGrids, and ProGrids window. And then the ProBuilder window, you can do the same, Tools, ProBuilder, and select ProBuilder window, and that'll give you a dockable window just like this. So just to get into it, the column and pillar setup I actually created, I used a texture and plane to get started. So just looking back at it there, it's basically a cog shape that I mapped out and extruded from. So I start off with a plane. I'm going to center that plane. Please excuse the sound effects. And I'm going to map on a texture, which is this cog texture right here. Drag that on. And straight away that'll be black, simply because my cog, even though it has transparency over here, the material that it creates automatically might not. So if we go in, there it is, there's the cog. Change the shader from standard to unlit and transparent, and that'll give you a good flat unlit version of the cog texture, as you can see here. So just making sure that everything's centered. Yeah, it looks pretty good. And I'm also going to shift down the size of the plane so that the edges of the cog actually meet the flat end of the grid itself in the ProGrid grid. So yeah, I'm going to get my scale to scale that down just so that the edges meet. So I've got some easy numbers to play with. I'm only going to take 1/4 of this, and I'm actually going to create the geometry for 1/4, and I'm going to mirror and rotate and then snap it all together, and you'll see why later on. So once I've got that in place, I'm going to turn on ProGrids and click on the new poly shape and start clicking. So there we go. Click point here, here. This will be a bit off, but we can fix that later. There, there, somewhere here and here, here, and then close the shape. Cool. So now I'm going to turn Pro Grids off. I'm going to start manipulating these points. So I have this point here, which I want to kind of snap over to this edge. This point here, I'm going to snap over here, and this one on top, like so. And this one, I want to make sure that it's sitting just on the edge here. Okay, so the nice thing about this tool is that you can actually add more verts by just clicking on the edges. So I'm going to do that now and make the rest of the geometry. So clicking here, drag that in. Here, drag that down. Here, let's get that edge. There we go, there's that corner. And here. Okay, so that's kind of the base part of the geometry ready. I might just pull that in a little bit. Yeah. Okay, and now I'm going to rotate it out. And what you can do is grab this lovely little gizmo here, and with grids on again, if I drag this up, it should snap to whatever increment or grid increment I've specified up here. So it's set to snap to 0.5. So it's basically 50 centimeters or half a meter. It's going to snap any of your movements from this point onwards with grids on to those half-meter increments, which is really, really handy, especially when you're doing modular level and world building stuff. So what I want to do now is grab this shape that I've created and mirror it around and start snapping the verts together. So this can be a little bit tricky, you're going to have to bear with me. Using the object selection, which I have here, I will go down to mirror and hit this plus symbol, and this will give me all the options for mirroring. I want to mirror, yes, on the x-axis, and I want to duplicate the geometry I've just created. So there we go, that's fine. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake there already. So I want to undo that. I want to get rid of this geometry. So I want to get rid of these faces here because they're going to be welded together. All these verts on the outside are going to be welded together to the other three quads or quadrants of this shape. So let's get rid of that geometry so we can stitch these together easier. In Pro Builder, you have to hit the backspace key, not delete, to delete faces or parts of the geometry. So that's backspace for both of those. And now I want to do what I was supposed to do originally and click mirror. So it's probably retained the settings. Yep, it has. So here we go. There's mirror. And then I'm going to stitch these two together. So back in vert mode, I want to make sure that I can select hidden. So select hidden is on, meaning that I can actually select hidden verts. So there's two ways of doing this. We could select both of those verts from both sides. Oh, actually, it hasn't done that. So once again, another step I've forgotten. I need to stitch these two objects together. Okay, so pick one of them, hold down Control, pick the other, and click on Group. Where is it? Is it Group? Where is it? Merge. Sorry, Merge Objects. There it is, in the green section. So now that's one object. The thing is, though, it is one object, but we're still seeing separate geometry, so we need to fix that. So once again, like I was saying, select both verts, and then click on your Weld tool. So you've got Weld Vertices, or Collapse Verts. So this will actually take all verts that you've selected and collapse them into one center point between the two. Or you can use the typical weld verts. If you guys are used to using, another package like 3D Studio Max or maybe even Maya or even Blender, you would probably be used to these terms, and you've seen this kind of functionality before. So I'm just going to weld them. I like to use weld. So I've got the tools here. If I click on weld verts, it should give me some feedback. Let's say let's up that value a bit more. Okay, so I seem to have selected another vert there. Let's go back and get a better selection here. So if I pick both of those, so deselect and then select, try welding again. There we go. So that seems to have done the job. Let's see. Yeah, they seem to be working together. I will just for selection, just to check. Yeah, it seems to be good. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing for everyone else. Select those, weld them. Select those two, weld those. Let's go around the back. And select these ones. And weld those as well. Right, so it's a good idea to test these just before you move on, simply because you don't want to end up with weird extra geometry. If I were to move that, the best way to see it is to grab like so. And I'm just selecting one at a time, making sure not to, group select again, because that would defeat the purpose. That seems fine, that seems fine. And one more, yeah, that's okay, cool. Alright, so same again, let's repeat the whole process. We're going to mirror this side, or this object here, this new object. So back to my mirror tool, and this time I want to mirror on the z-axis. But the problem is, and I probably should have started way back at the very start, I probably should have started my geometry from the center outwards, and that would have given me a better transform point. Right now my transform is set to the very first object or point that I selected, which was way out here. We'll be able to center that pivot later on, but for now it's kind of a little bit off. So if I try to mirror this and duplicate it, you'll see that it'll actually spit out the other side. But not to worry, with ProGrids on, this should snap pretty nicely for us. There we go. So that snaps pretty well like that. And I'm going to do the same thing again, where I'm going to merge the two of these. So select both of them and merge objects. This time, yes, so I'm going to be welding seams across here. So pick the verts. And I want those two. Click weld. These two. Weld. These two here. Weld. And these two here. Let's weld those as well. And then I also have these ones on top, which I have to deal with. So let's grab those. And hoping I haven't selected anything else, just to make sure. Weld. Yeah, that seems okay. Let me get these ones underneath. That might have been a bit, yeah, that's a bit stupid. Okay, I'll go this way. Okay. So, weld. Alright, and I should probably test those as well, just to be safe, because we are going to do a lot of work on this. You don't want to hit a point later on where you have to end up stitching loads of extra stuff together. That seems fine. Which way? These ones as well, isn't it? So this way, this way. That's fine. And let's test these ones. Okay. I really should believe in the tools more, but hey. Okay, so what do you want to do next? Well, are we okay there? Yeah. Next, we just start having fun, right? So this is part of the fun of ProBuilder. By no means am I suggesting that it is a replacement for a bigger, more robust package like 3D Studio Max or even Blender or any of those modeling tools. But what it is a really, really quick prototyping tool that will get you over the initial humps of placement and size and scale inside your world. It gives you this really strong sense of how big the object is. Right now, each of these textures, sorry, I should have mentioned if I haven't, is that this texture itself is mapping with a 1 meter marker on it. Okay, so you're looking at proper Unity scale being mapped out there, which is really nice. Or is it? Has it deformed? I don't know. Maybe leave a comment about that. It looks like actually it might have deformed, but hey, that might be just the way I'm messing around with it. Anyway, moving on. Let's get into some modeling. So here we have 4 quadrants. So these are n-gons, and I know that some of you are just pulling your hair out looking at these shapes. They're multi-sided. That's something we can deal with later on. You end up stitching those together, but for getting you out of the gate, it's a really, really handy setup to start with. So let's look at the extrusion tool. So if you hold down Shift and drag any of these polys, you can actually extrude, and you can see that by the markers here, that you're actually extruding out depending on whatever snap tool or snap increments you have set here. So if I hold down Shift again and drag, you'll see that it snaps to whatever ProGrids is saying. If I turn ProGrids off, just for now, you can see that if I hold down Shift, it'll just give me a much more, I don't know, it's unmeasured, I guess, an unmeasured increment. And you can also use the Control key. So if I hold down Control, that will snap once again to whatever snap settings I've set inside Unity. Okay. So for now, let's just use ProGrids. If I hold down Shift and drag out, that will extrude. And if I do it again, it'll extrude again. If I hold down, or if I scale, we have the normal scaling tools. Do you know what? I might actually adjust my transform now, because this isn't going to work if I want to create a kind of centralized sculpt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to here and see if I can center the normal, or the transform. Where am I? Center pivot, there we go. Cool. So that centers the pivot right there, and from here on, I'm hoping, fingers crossed. Ooh, okay. So that's actually giving me a transform at this point. Is that to do with the orientation? Nope. Okay. Okay, well, I'm going to move on here and see if I can actually shift. Of course, sorry. Well, that's so stupid. It was actually the Unity pivot settings that were off there. So, holding down Shift, I can actually extrude inwards, but also in a scale, almost like an inset, if you've seen that tool before. Once again, we can snap upwards. Sorry, I want to undo that and use the correct tool, which is this one. So we can start making interesting shapes like this, and all the while ProBuilder is doing its best to keep your UVs, which are being auto-generated, looking relatively straight. That's something we can straighten out later. So I'm just Shift extruding each of these steps and Shift scale to inset. I have actually managed to make the, sorry, I'm going to extrude inwards here to make an interesting shape here, but I've managed to make the scale snap before. For some reason it's not snapping for me now, so you can actually have snap on scale as well, so you can snap in increments. To bring up the actual settings for your ProGrids snap settings, you can right click on the actual number value up here, and for some reason I have snap on scale set here, but it isn't actually snapping when I scale. I don't know if that's something anyone could give me feedback on. That'd be great. So once again, scaling inwards and extruding up. So you can make some pretty cool shapes relatively quickly. I'm just going to keep pushing on with this a little bit more and a little bit more. This one I'm going to scale, so you can, if you're not happy with scale extruding or insetting, you can always extrude upwards and then scale afterwards without having to do the extrusion. Scale up again and scale up again and scale inwards, something like that. And then you can even do cool little almost like radial twists. So let's extrude up twice and rotate once. With a kind of a holding of the control key, you can actually rotate and snap at the same time. And then we'll extrude up twice again. 1, 2. And then hold down control and rotate again. Hold shift. 1, 2. And then rotate once. That's kind of interesting. Looks nice. Yeah. And let's cap that off. So one extrusion up. Let's scale it out a little bit. And then extrude up again. Extrude again, and then let's scale down. Something like that. So you could create a kind of some sort of a separator here. In my other version, I had a kind of a red metallic material on here, and some sort of a a silvery titanium material here, which looked kind of cool. Okay, so let's extrude up another couple of times, and then let's create a good solid top that we can start extruding our arch from. Alright, so I think that's high enough. Let's 1, 2, and scale out. Let's have a look at this from the side view and see what we've got. So let's flatten that out. That looks pretty good, yeah. Okay. Let's get that back into perspective and start messing again. The problem is I don't know which way I was facing. There we go. Alright. I'm happy to go this way. Okay. So I'll extrude up once. Creates a nice flat panel. Oh, there's something. Okay, so in my rotations, I was supposed to keep going until I kind of aligned at least one set of these to one angle. So here we go with something. This is going to be interesting. So I'm wondering if I can just select all of these verts down here and give them another quick twist. Right now I'm really happy with the way that that's actually rotating outwards. It's nice, but you know, we probably have to over twist that to make, yeah. Or what we could do is we could put some more slices in here and rotate those. There'll be a nice way to show off what you can do using edge loops. So yeah, why not? Okay, so look, let's select an edge here, and then if you scroll down to the red section, you can say insert edge loop, like so. And these edge loops will also snap to your grid settings. So I think that's roughly the same kind of increment. That makes sense. So do another edge loop. And that should be sitting just about right. Let's move it and see. Yeah, that should do it. And you know what? I'll put one more in just in case. Something like that. Okay, so they're roughly the correct increments. It's actually looking quite nice. So let's get back to here, and using the verts, I'm hoping this is going to work now. Let's select which ones, where's the twist? The twist should probably start about here. And let's try rotating that. Hopefully it doesn't go crazy. So holding down control and twist once. Yep, that seems okay. And let's do the same to the ones above. Let's get those ones. Hopefully I've just selected the right ones there. Yep, that's okay. Alright, so control and rotate. Let's have a look from above, see if we've straightened that out. Okay, it looks like one more rotation should do it. It's almost like I planned this mistake. Okay, I'm probably going to pay for it later though. Control and twist. Alright, let's have a look. Yeah, That looks pretty good. Okay, time to save. Let's call that pillar. Okay. Yeah, with any of these tools, it's always good to save. Just keep saving. That's what I say to all my students. Keep saving. Control S. Anytime you do anything, save. Well, not anything, but yeah, always bear in mind that these tools, especially with procedural mesh generation, I've done a lot of that work myself, and things can go very wrong very fast. So yeah, keep an eye on that. Okay, so now what I want to do is create my arch. So let's take these planes. Sorry, these faces, and let's inset those slightly. So using the scale tool and shift, scale that down that way, and then let's move it over a little bit. Now Pro Grids is probably not going to let you snap this. Oh, I tell a lie, that's perfect. Okay, right. Yeah, so just remember you can always turn Pro Grids on and off depending on what you're doing. Right, so I'm going to create an archway, and I've done a lot of them by eye, and some of them have worked out really nice when you just kind of handball it and drag it out and see what happens. I tried another method where I extruded out a big kind of solid, kind of almost like 2.5 to 3 meter extrusion, and then rotated its face and snapped it over to one of these grid settings or grid positions, and then I put slices across and then moved those slices. That was interesting. I'm going to pass on that for today because it seems like a little bit more work, whereas actually just dragging out, rotating feels a little bit more fun and almost like it's a bit more artistic. It's kind of almost like a clay modeling way of doing it. So I'm going to extrude out 1, 2, and then extrude out again 1, 2. This time I'm going to rotate, let's say 5. I think that's 5 degrees. I'm not sure what those snaps are. Let's now change the way our face is going to extrude. So you can actually set the, what's it called? Is it orientation? Local. There we go. So the orientation button, really handy. You can actually change the way your transform, your tool will actually work. So you can go global, local, and then you can go by normal. So the actual normal of the face, I believe that is. So let's extrude out 1, 2, and rotate however many degrees that is. So control, oops, let's just check that, make sure that's going right. It seems okay, yeah. So it's my red. So control and snap once. There we go. And then once again, extrude 1, 2. Let's turn again. Go and extrude again. 2. And turn. Extrude 1, 2. Is that right? Something wrong there. Let's undo that. That's weird. It seems fine there. Okay, holding down control. No, shift, sorry. 1, 2. Now, it seems a little bit off, but look, I'll go with it. Alright, control and twist. Another extrusion, shift, and 1, 2. It's strange how that one worked out. Alright, we'll fix that later anyway. Okay, and then one more rotation, I believe. There we go, and that kind of straightens that out. Let's have a look at that from the side in an isometric view. Flatten it out on the X. That looks kind of alright. They're a little bit off here, but you can fix those after, it's no problem. It would be nice to actually have this snap right over to this grid line here. So I'm just going to drag it and see. There we go. That's all right. And this particular edge loop, something funny went on there. So I'm going to select that edge loop. So is it edge loop? It is, yeah. And I'm going to just do this by eye. So I'll switch ProGrids off, and I'm going to change my orientation. There we go. And let's move that up to about there. That's kind of alright. This one here, I'm always tempted just to move the verts, but something's saying no. So I'll select the edge loop and let's shift that a little bit over. Kind of straighten up that curve. That's pretty cool. Alright. So once again, let's save. Now, does that seem a little bit diminished compared to the rest of this? It kind of does, actually. Do you know what? I might just scale the whole lot up. Let's move those. It might do some weird things to the curve, but if I just drag that up a little bit. And let's take that there. Move those up as well. Yeah, that seems a bit better. Take those up as well. Okay. So that looks pretty good. Go back to perspective mode. Yeah, so as you can see, you can do something pretty cool, pretty fast. And all of this geometry can be exported out into, the standard formats, like I think it's OBJ. There's another couple of types as well. So if you wanted to do some extra work in an external package, bring it in and fix up whatever faces or whatever. You could trim out certain parts of the geometry if you wanted to, if you're more comfortable in another package. But what's nice about this is it's already there. It's sitting inside Unity. It's collidable. It's UVs are okay. They're not perfect, but that's something you can also fix inside here. We'll leave that for another lesson. One last thing I want to do to this is to actually extrude out some of these archway segments, so you've got kind of a staggered look to it. Kind of big blocks, little blocks, big blocks. So I'm going to select that face ring, and I'm just going to use the actual extrude option in here rather than trying to scale it, and I'll show you why. So we've got to extrude faces and click on the plus. If we go and extrude now, so if I hit that extrude button, you can see that grew out nicely, which is cool. There's other options here, so individual faces you could extrude out, right? That would give you kind of that kind of more blocky look, like so. You might want that for certain scenarios, but definitely not for this one. And then you've also got face normals, which I'm not 100% sure what the difference is there between this and, let's have a look. Maybe if I look at it closely, you can tell. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. If anyone has any comments about that, please let me know. Let's have a look. So vertex normal and face normal one more time. Yeah, maybe this is a bit kind of more squared off or something. Maybe it's a little bit bigger, I don't know. Let's see, has it done anything on this side here? Nope. So I suppose either of those is pretty cool. Seems all right. So look, I'm going to beef that up a little bit. So 0.15, extrude it out. That's pretty cool. Do the same thing here. So select face loop or face ring, face loop. Nope. Here's another one. I'm getting mixed results here with this, and it could be I'm thinking to do with the angle, right? So if I select this poly and I select a face loop, no. Face ring, is it? Okay. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm matching things. Select the face loop here. It's fine. Select face ring. Okay. Select face ring. Yeah, I must have been matching things. Let's extrude those as well. And these ones. So select face ring. Yep. Extrude. And yeah, I'm kind of happy with that. That's kind of cool. So there we go. You can do some pretty cool stuff pretty fast. So if you guys have any comments on that about the actual geometry, please let me know. Materials, sorry, I really should have done materials as well. Do you know what? I might just throw some on here as well. Let's grab the entire object. So if you have any predefined materials in here, I don't think I do. I have some textures from another project. I'll bring those in real quick. So textures, there we go. So here's rock normal, metal, and metal normal. That'll do nicely. Let's import those. Okay, so you need a couple of materials, so let's create those. I'm going to create a rock material. And I'm going to create metal material. And then I'm going to duplicate that. Actually, no, I'll delete that. I'll duplicate the other one. Right, so, yeah, grand. On the metal material, I'm going to pull in the metal textures. Fix those. Okay. And on the rock material, pull in the rock and rock normal. Fix that. Okay. So what's really cool about this is you can actually apply materials to individual faces. If I were to pick, do you know what? Let's get into isometric for this. Is that isometric? No, it's not iso, is it? Anyway, orthographic possibly. I'm going to select certain faces, so I like these faces here. Actually, no, I'm going to take these faces and these faces. I should get to select both of those now. Okay. Anyway, go to my material editor, and I'm going to add the metal material and the rock material. So with these faces selected, if I hit the button just next to the actual material, so metal, it'll apply them. Same here. Apply those. I pick all of these. Well, this is where I want kind of a weird red metal material. So yeah, I need to duplicate the metal material here, and let's call that red metal. And simply shift the color to something crazy like this. Okay, and drag that into here, and then select those faces again. Oops, just select that. There we go. Red metal. Same for these. Red metal, and all this stuff. So all of that, I'm going to say is rock. And all of this, you know, I might leave a metal band up here. Yeah, so that's rock as well. Okay, and then these, can I select those that way? Okay, let's make those metal as well. Okay, my metal, I want that to be extremely metallic. That's the smoothness, sorry. Let's bring that right up. Same with this. Real shine. And the rock, I just want that to have a kind of a real chunky normal map. There we go. And applying materials is that simple, which I find amazing. Obviously you need a bit of work on those materials. They should tile better, I imagine. Yeah, and that's it. guys, if you liked the video, let me know. This is going to be my first YouTube video, so do all that subscribe-y stuff and all that like-y stuff, and please leave lots of comments. Anything I can do to make these videos better, I'd love to know. Thanks a million.